And we're live on Chris's Real Talk on Thursday, the 25th of April 2019. I was actually going to give it a miss today. I was not going to go live. I thought I'd just listen to the radio. I thought I'd listen to LBC, one of my favourite stations in the UK, just to see what's happening in the world, or hear what's happening. And these protesters, dynamite, what's going on? These protesters, I believe they call themselves Extinction Rebellion. They're back. Yes, they are. They're down at Canary Wharf in the financial district. And what they've done is there's 4 of them on top of a train on the Docklands Light Railway, and they're causing disruption yet again because they think that hitting the financial district is going to be such a help to the environment, because there's apparently there's people that work in the financial district down there that pay for and fund the destruction of the earth. Let me make this perfectly clear. At no point are we killing the earth. If we are doing anything, we're killing ourselves. And I can tell you this right now, 100%, long after the extinction of human beings, be it in 12 years, be it 12,000 years, 12 million years, or 12 billion years, the earth will still be here. That's what will happen. The earth will still be here. We're not killing the planet. You see, we're killing ourselves, if you want to put it in that respect. The earth survived a cataclysmic event that wiped out every living thing almost, when the meteor hit and the dinosaurs were made extinct and all this bollocks, but the earth will survive. The earth will replenish itself. It will heal. It will get better. You see, of all the things that we've done over the last 10 years to help reduce this climate change, bearing in mind air pollution levels here in the UK specifically are the cleanest they've been for a very long time, in part by electric vehicles and people being more aware and people actually cycling into work. But thank you. It's air pollution levels are actually going down. You see, the earth itself isn't actually heating up. The earth itself, by and large, if you really want to go that way, is cooling down a little bit. Not much, but like I said in a previous video, if global warming and climate change was that much of an issue, there'd be satellites falling out of the sky. But this is what I can't understand about these protesters. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not the most clever man in the world, but I do have an opinion on most things. When these protesters decide to put their lives at risk by jumping on top of trains, and when they get about 300 or 400 and maybe even up to 1,000 people to stand in the middle of the road, blocking up the road, causing traffic, do they honestly think they're doing anything to help the planet? Because what they're actually doing when they do that, when they stand in the middle of the road waving their banners, and they hold up traffic, what they're actually doing is having every single vehicle that they're stopping sit there for up to and over 2 hours at a time with their engines running. Think about that. You see, they are literally causing more pollution than they're actually trying to stop. Idle engines that are actually turning over create more pollution than anything. Let me read some of these comments. Hi, Dynamite Blower. I saw a vid where someone was standing on top of a bus, holding a sign, then jumping off. It's on YouTube. Freddie, I'm pretty sure I haven't seen that one, but I will have a look. And Miss Cornelius, hello, good morning. So yeah, don't get me wrong. It's a noble cause what these protesters are doing. I understand it. I understand the reason why they're doing what they're doing, but they're literally going off from not common sense. They're going off what some scaremonger said, that I've got a few signatures on paper because science. And don't get me wrong, I love science. I'm all for science, you know, but I have to think logically. I have to think logically and use a hell of a lot of common sense, you see, because if they think that within the next 12 years the Earth is not going to be able to recover from the amount of pollution or so-called climate change, then I believe that whoever believes that is as gullible as a gullible thing can be. That's just my opinion. You know, it's honestly, it's scaremongering. It's like people saying, oh, when Britain leaves the European Union, the country's going to be doomed, the country's this, the country's that. Scaremongering. It's not the case at all. I don't believe that the Earth is going to get to an extinction level event in 12 years because of climate change. Especially if we're going the way we're going now. Because things are getting a lot more greener. Even now, with the way things are going, people are becoming more aware, you see. I think what we need to do, what these protesters need to do really, is not have a go at some of the companies or whoever in the financial district, because the majority of those companies, like Shell for example, as an energy provider, actually invest billions of pounds and dollars into finding cleaner and greener alternative fuels, sources of energy, and also to refine petrol to a point where it's actually better combustible in an engine without putting out so many harsh chemicals into the atmosphere. And the same goes for BP, British Petroleum, and pretty much every other fuel company that has their main base of operation anywhere. They are literally doing the best they can to reduce the carbon footprint of their company. So it's all well and good them saying that the financial district is contributing to the destruction of the Earth. What they're actually doing is contributing billions and billions of pounds and dollars into actually trying to solve the problem while trying to somehow maintain revenue. This is what these idiots don't understand. You see, BP, for example, are looking into alternative arrangements for energy, be it tidal, be it wind, be it solar, you know, be it any kind of renewable energy source. These fuel companies are actually looking into. So protesting outside there, all you're doing is pissing people off, which is exactly what they're doing. Is they're stopping people getting to and from work while pissballing around with trains on live rails. Think about this. Think about this. When these protesters stop in the middle of the road and they hold up cars for God knows how long, they're actually contributing more to their it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. They think the Earth is going to end in 12 years. Holding traffic up for a prolonged amount of time while vehicles have their engines running is contributing more than letting them just pass through with their engines at a very economical rate. This is what people don't understand. You see, leaving graffiti everywhere with aerosol spray paint. Where does that go? It goes into the atmosphere when you spray it. Think about that. These protesters, although it's for a noble cause, actually don't have a clue what they're doing and why they're doing it. And all for the sake of maybe targeting one or two people that work in the financial district. That's what this woman said on an interview. That's what she said not 10 minutes ago on LBC. Because a few of them might work in the financial district at Canary Wharf. That's why they're doing what they're doing. So they're actually causing more trouble than it's worth for people that work for these companies that actually spend money trying to actually solve the problem. Who'd have thunk it? Who'd have thunk it? You know, it's just one of those things that I can't get my head around. I mean, I think I have a firm grasp on most things. I really do. I think I have a firm grasp on a majority of the things that's happening out there in the world. I think I get a firm grasp on what's happening pretty much most instances, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes I get stumped. Sometimes I get so baffled by people's mentality that it actually makes me scratch my head. And I ponder, I wonder what goes through people's minds. I really do. It's like people that are bleating on about staying in the European Union. It's your fault we're in the mess we're in the first place, because you kept harping on without actually accepting a fair democratic vote. You bitched and you whinged about it to the point where no one's ever going to be happy with whatever deal or no deal we actually get. And this country is going to go down the shitter because of you whinging about what you wanted to have that you couldn't have. Could you imagine if the country had voted to stay in the European Union? Do you think anyone who voted to leave would have bitched about it? No. It would have been the end of it. It would have been finished, dealt with, done. We wouldn't have been happy about it, but we wouldn't have been harping on about a second referendum. It wouldn't have happened. We would have accepted the vote reluctantly and hoped that we don't get screwed over by the rest of the European Union, which is what's going to happen anyway, because of this ridiculous treaty that Theresa May's going to try forcing upon them and us. But either way, these protesters need to understand that pissing people off will not get people to sympathise with your cause. All you're doing is literally pissing people off. That's all it is. I mean, I have to drive through these areas where they're protesting. For me personally, I actually love it when they do it, because if they're blocking the road and I can't go anywhere and I have to terminate my bus, that's fine. It means I get to sit on my backside for about an hour before turning the bus around and going back the other way. That's less work for me. That's fine. What I get annoyed with is the fact that there are people that can't get to and from work. There are people that can't get to school. There are people that can't get to, say, a hospital that they may work in. There are people that may work actually on the public transport network on the underground that can't get to their underground stations to work. You know, it affects a lot of people. And when people find out they can't get to work because of protesters, do you think they're honestly going to have any kind of sympathy for what they're protesting for? No. My sister has found it extremely difficult getting to and from work. You know, luckily she's managed to get in. But my sister is extremely pissed off at the fact that her journey has almost doubled in length, where she has to get off the bus and walk the rest of the way. She shouldn't have to do that. You see? And it may get to a point where there are people that can't actually make the journey because they may have disabilities, you see? And they can't take the bus halfway because they can't walk very far. So it may well be worth their time not going in at all. And if they did that, then there's a good chance they may not get paid, or they may end up losing their job because of it. And these protesters want people to feel sorry for them? No. They need to actually open their eyes and actually see what is actually happening to combat this climate change that they're bleating on about. Instead of looking for the bad, look for the good. Look for all the things that these companies and the government are actually doing to help reduce the amount of pollution in our atmosphere, instead of looking at the worst case scenario. Look and support the good that is actually happening. Look at the amount of, put even something as simple as 5p or 10p for a plastic bag. That, to me, even though it's annoying as hell, is a fantastic idea. How many times do you now go to a supermarket and you get annoyed at the fact that you've got to spend 10p on a slightly smaller but thicker plastic bag. You know, I'm pretty sure you do get pissed off. So what do? You take one of those bags for life. I bet everyone in this country has either got a cupboard or a drawer with plastic bags, and in that plastic bag is another plastic bag that's filled with plastic bags. And why do you have that drawer or cupboard with a bag full of bags? Because you know at some point when you've got to go shopping, you're going to go to that cupboard, you're going to get one of those bags and take it with you. Therefore, you are using that bag over and over again, and you are helping to reduce the amount of plastic that goes to landfill, because you're using that bag over and over again. You're helping the government to save the planet, is what you're doing. It's silly things like that. I think if the government really wants to do anything about it, or if these protesters want to do anything about it really, they should get onto the government with a peaceful protest and encourage government to do more research into biodegradable plastics. Yeah? And I'm talking like plastics that cover fruit, for example. You know, how many of us buy fruit that's covered in plastic? When we buy milk, what does milk come in? A thick plastic bottle. And where does that bottle go? It goes to landfill. Why can't we have a biodegradable plastic milk bottle? Why can't we have milk in a reinforced cardboard and some kind of foil lined carton? Why can't we have milk in biodegradable containers? It's silly things like that. You see, when we buy a new telephone and we have to peel that plastic thing off the front, why do we need that? Why can't it just have a thin sheet of really fine tracing paper over it, just to keep it dust free while it's in the box? There's many different ways of contributing to saving the planet. I mean, when it comes to, put it this way, let me turn this camera around. Right, we're looking at the floor. I'm literally walking over filth. You've got cigarette butt ends, like there's one there. You've got chewing gum all over the floor. Cigarette dog ends and bubble gum, chewing gum, whatever you want to call it. These things are not biodegradable. They don't ever degrade. You see? If you want to do something, get onto these companies that make these products. Get onto these confectionery companies that make sweets that don't biodegrade when you spit them out. You see, if these protesters really want to go there, if they want to protest anywhere, they should go and protest outside tobacco companies, is what they should do. Because what is tobacco? It's a plant that you burn, you inhale it to get your nicotine fix. But what's it actually doing? Morning. Oh, she's all right. I will. When you're burning tobacco, what you're doing, you're putting all kinds of crap, not only into your lungs, which will eventually kill you. You're also putting crap loads of crap into the atmosphere. You see, and then when you're finished with it, it goes on the floor, and then it doesn't biodegrade. So they literally kill everything. That's what the tobacco industry is doing. It's literally killing everything. And these protesters are bitching about fuel companies like Shell, who are spending billions in trying to find alternative sources of clean energy. Go and bitch at the tobacco companies. Yeah? Go and bitch at the people who make plastics. Go and bitch at supermarkets. Yeah? For not finding alternative packaging for their products. Don't moan at people that they actually have to use on a daily basis, whether they realise it or not. And just think that in the long run, these protesters are literally trying to cause problems, as in an anarchist would do. I think I mean, I can actually tell you now, Shell are doing the best they can, because my cousin is actually an employee of Shell. he is, you see. And I can't remember this job, I think it's a geophysicist, something that he does, but he looks for alternative sources of energy. He's one of these people that actually do that. Let me get across this road before reading some of these comments, because I don't want to die. It's called England fan jumps off a bus and crashes through bus stop. Oh yes, I have seen that one. I not long saw them plonkers on TV standing on top of DLR train, and that's dangerous. Yes, it is. The live rail was 750 volts going through it to the overhead cable is 25,000 volts going through. The protesters are messing about near them. As far as I'm concerned, and as bad as it sounds, I have no sympathy for stupidity. It's one of my favourite sayings in the world, and if one of these protesters ends up getting electrocuted and dies and fills the place with the smell of bacon, then good job. Roy West, good morning. I met that bloke, he's such a lovely bloke. I think Shell only use renewable energy. Shell are actually one of the leaders in finding alternative sources of energy. Protesters don't understand lots of people need to get to work. Well, the thing is, they do understand people need to get to work, and that's why they're doing it, to raise awareness for what they're doing by stopping people getting to work. What they don't care about is if you get to work or not, you see. And there's the issue. It's literally kids throwing toys out the pram, is what it is. It's kids throwing toys out the pram, protesting because they believe that science tells them that the earth is doomed in 12 years. Of course it's not. Of course it's not. Look at what we, hang on. Look at what we have today, okay? We have cars now that are so economically friendly, they put out almost zero emissions, and they can have up to and over 150 miles per gallon. You can have electric cars, you see, and in the next 12 years, almost every car manufacturer will have to provide cars that are either electric or hybrid, you see, and more people are actually switching to these vehicles as the cost actually reduces. That's the only reason there was two reasons I didn't buy an electric vehicle. The first reason is they are expensive, and the second reason is if I did buy an electric vehicle, the council wouldn't have granted the approval for the electric charge point that I would need in order to charge my vehicle. They wouldn't have granted me that. So that's the two reasons I didn't get one. Otherwise, I would love to own one. I really would. But over the next, say, 10 or 12 years, it's going to become normal for these vehicles to be sold at any given car manufacturer. The price will reduce. And don't get me wrong, I know that electricity to charge these cars has got to come from somewhere, but even nuclear energy is changing. You see? Uranium is what is used currently for nuclear fission. There's another chemical that can be used, which there's actually more of it in the world, and I believe it's thorium or something like, begins with TH. There's actually more of that chemical than there is uranium, and it's a damn sight cleaner. I'm talking like a damn sight cleaner. And it's been around since the 60s. You see, the only problem with that chemical is it's very easily refined into weapons grade material. So if they can find a way of making it safe that way, then there you go. You've got in the next, say, 10 to 20 years, nuclear fusion taken over from nuclear fission. And fusion uses an extremely low amount of fuel to put an extremely high amount of energy out, and it's clean. It's a completely clean 100%, how can I put it, energy efficient way of creating. It's just amazing. YouTube it. Someone go onto YouTube and look at nuclear fusion, and it's coming along. In the next, say, 20 years, it's going to be normal. You see, and there's the thing that we need to focus on. These protesters are literally barking up the wrong tree. Anyway, Again, I don't do Patreon, so if anyone wishes to leave any kind of donation or contribution to help me out and help my channel, I'll leave a link down below for PayPal Me. That goes directly to me without the middleman, and I'll do everything I can to use that for this channel, and anything I don't use for this channel will go to charity. It is the 25th. It is Thursday. Be safe.